Hello and welcome to another day in the arena. It's me, it's CGB, and today on the docket are 20 blue or black spells. So let's see what we're going to run today. Today I'm going to show you what's been my most successful deck in arena, and that is this blue-black control. But before I do, I'm going to go over some of the changes in arena that make a few... It kind of makes net decking more possible than ever, and I'm going to show you exactly sort of how I do that. So hold on while we tear down the fourth wall here and add a browser capture so I can show you a web page. Well, you get a little bit of face cam in the meantime. I hope you don't mind. Darn it, I forgot to spike my hair for this. Anybody who follows me knows what a big deal that is. So, we're going to take a quick look at this website, MTG Goldfish. Now that full Standard's available, and there are deck lists from Standard, from Paper Magic, from Magic Online, and from Magic Arena, you have a lot of options for how to get decks and deck ideas. And if you have a collection that can support your net decking habits, like I am fortunate enough to do, you can do just about anything. Let's say that we saw this is some blue, black, green deck, for example, that just went 5-0 in a competitive Standard league. Just right down here, if you go to MTG Goldfish and you go to decks and you go to metagame and you hit Standard, boom, you get all these decks from recent Standard events. This is from a competitive Standard league. You can click on that and see all the decks from that league. Same thing from Grand Prix. Same thing from SCG tournaments. Same thing from Magic Online qualifiers, right? And if we just click on one of these decks and then go down here where it says Export to Arena, you can click the button. You can copy this. So I'm using Control-C on Mac, Command-C. And then we go in here and just hit this little button, this Export button. And it makes a deck. Never mind, I just exported. Wow, I promise I only mess up when I'm recording. All right, never mind, Control-C, import. Export copies the deck to your clipboard. Import copies the deck from the clipboard. So hit import when you're adding a new deck. And then you go down here and check it out. If you need to use wildcards, there's a little button. It just says use wildcards. That's all you have to do if you want to add wildcards to your deck. If you don't want to, you can just go in and remove them and find some like worthy replacements. Right now, since I'm just hanging out here, I'm just gonna like quick touch these replacements. I'm not gonna overthink it very much. All right, well, yeah. Now I have to because I did it wrong. There. If you don't use your wildcards, of course, you can just touch, edit, and things like that. The benefits of this, well, if you don't like net decking, I'm very sorry for this portion of the video. But it wasn't to hurt you. It was to show people how they can play decks that they want to play. See, not everybody wants to build everything about a deck from scratch. Maybe you just need help with the mana base. Maybe you just need help with some of the card choices to fill your deck out. Whatever it is, it's wise to at least take some advice from net decking sometimes and to practice it sometimes. At the same time, if you never brew, if you never do anything for yourself, if you never try out some cards different of your own that you like, then it's like you have no soul. So yeah, I think it was Patrick Chapin who said that if you don't net deck sometimes, you have no brain, and if you net deck all the time, you have no soul. So try to keep that in mind, all things in moderation, but this shows you how I can basically go out and try a brand new deck from a different creator. And whenever I do a deck that I did not design, I do want to make sure that I remember who made it. So this is Jeff Cunningham's Jeff Cunningham's snake deck, and we'll just call it that, lock it down, there we go. But that's not what we're playing today. I introduced that so I could introduce this deck, which was run by Elder088 in a Magic Online Pro Tour qualifier. He went 7-1, and this is the best version of blue-black I have found since the addition of Kaladesh to the meta. So let's have a look at this deck. I've played several of them. This one, so far in Quick Constructed, I'm 13-1, so it feels really good. 4 Syncopates. At first, I thought that was a really high number, but the fact is that the black-red decks and the mono-red decks right now really revolve around these 4 drops and 5 drops that kill you. We're talking about Glorybringer. We're talking about Rekindling Phoenix, Chandra, and Hazoret. And Syncopate is a good answer to all of those. That solves the issue on curve. Then we have Fatal Push and Cast Down to kill those early Bomat Couriers. 1 Arguel's Bloodfast. We got Negate, 1 Essence Scatter, 1 Blink of an Eye, so a little toolbox there. 4 Disallows, because that's what you do now. A split among Glimmers and Hyros. 4 Vraska's Contempt, because it's just needed. 2 Scarab Gods and 4 Gearhulks. It's a Gearhulk deck. Gearhulk provides all the punch. You end up flashing back Vraska's Contempts and Glimmers and just drowning your opponent in value. And so far, it's been very strong for me. The main plan that I was worried about was playing against blue-white. I've been amazed that I've managed to win most of my matchups with blue-white, beating them down with Gearhulks and Scarab Gods. I didn't expect it to go that way because of the strength of their removal and the strength of their deck, but so far it has worked, and I haven't yet been able to nail down exactly why it's working. So if we end up against blue-white, we'll be watching for that. We also have a little sideboard over here that we don't actually use. Sideboard is for competitive constructed, which I'm staying out of it. I like quick constructed. I like the variety of decks. I feel like I have an advantage in building and tuning decks for 1v1 most of the time. I like it. I'm happy with quick constructed, and more than 80% of the time I make more than my money back, and a little bit over 60% of the time I get to 7 wins. So the math right now says it's a good place for me to grind, so I'll continue to do that. But if you want to use the sideboard, it will be included in the description. All right, let's lock and load, rock and roll. And we're just going to do a few ladder games, show you how the deck works. Hopefully have some good battles for your entertainment. What's happening here? What's going on? Why is it doing this? What's this blank screen? What's the deal? Why is the screen just totally blank? Hello? Hello? So since the update, bugs. Game crashes, game fails, left and right. So many of them. So many. I'm going to try closing and restarting the client. Hang in there. And we're just hanging out here on the CGB show, trying to make magic happen here in total utter blackness. The depths of YouTube here. This is the first video, please know. This is not how I like to do things. And we're in a game just like that. How about that? Woo! And I've got a hand I'm looking at, and it's on the draw, so it could be slow, but it has a Syncopate, a Disallow, something, a tap land, possibly 2 tap lands, But I think it's one of those you gotta keep. If our opponent is on red, we could get redded out. Our opponent is not on red. Not yet, anyway. Not mono red. The push. All right. Island. And go. There is nothing for 2 mana at instant speed here I would ever even consider syncopating. Therefore, I feel comfortable hitting end turn when I know I don't want to respond, because it also feeds the opponent potentially false information where they might not think we have a counterspell because we didn't hold any priority when they cast some ridiculous thing or cycled a Hyro or something. So, just a little Defending myself for those who say never hit the end turn button. I think you very well can if you're smart about it. And it looks like the stare down is in full progress. So what does this game come down to? Probably who can actually resolve their Gearhulks, which means mana. You need a lot of lands, and you need plenty of card draw to make sure they keep coming. Our opponent so far has not blinked on lands and hasn't had to cast anything. Now they're going to put out a Dusk Legion Zealot. Well, that is just fine. I'm not too worried about our Zealot. Plus, it gives us something to target with our own Scarab God when the time comes. Draw 2. Doing this on end step forces the opponent to let it resolve, or else I could untap and do something potentially scary to them. Most opponents will let it resolve. If they didn't, I would probably be happy about that. Matches like this only include so many disallows, so many counter spells. We usually will have an advantage there. Ooh, our opponent is cycling on end step. We get to resolve something, but we have nothing to resolve. Tragic. I guess I'll take the opportunity and fatally push this. I'm trying to think of what our opponent could play. I suppose that they could play Search for Azcanta. If they did that, we play Disallow. They play Disallow. We Syncopate. We could Syncopate for 1 if we kept our mana up, but if our opponent has another land, they could pay that anyway. So rather than discard a card, we'll fatally push the little Zealot. Get out of town, boy. Get out. One less vampire in the world. Who knew that they died from a push? It must have been a push into direct sunlight. Let's see if our opponent's willing to try something here. Looks like they want to try another Zealot. Totally fine. I think I might just wait to see if I draw another Fatal Push rather than trying to kill this. Or just wait till I have too many cards in my hand again, because casting it down, Cast Down is one of the cards that can tag a Gearhulk very well. Vraska's Contempt is for Scarab God, Cast Down is for Gearhulk. Now I have 2. I'll have to think about it. Alright. But for the most part, I'm not afraid to take a few hits while I think about it. Little 1 points of damage here and there don't do too much. Not too scary. The main problem is it's keeping our opponent's lands coming. And they're looking at some cards, and it is Nezahal the Primal Tide. Well, that is a very big, annoying card, but hopefully we'll get to show you here that we can handle it. I've got a plan. Okay, so here we're going to cast down the Nezahal. Nope, we can't cast down the Nezahal. That is a mistake. I wish I could take that back, but I cannot. So before our opponent draws this card, we will Vraska's Contempt the Nezahal, which is what I should have done the first time. Learn a lesson. Nezahal is legendary. And if you try to cast it down and there's another target on the battlefield, you will target that target. You do not get takesies, backsies. So it's not like paper where I say cast down your Nezahal and they're like, that's illegal. Now you have to cast down the Zealot. Or if I control the Gearhulk, now you have to cast down your old Gearhulk. Anyway, our opponent's going to discard some stuff. They have a Champion of Wits. That's good for them. Draw a card. And then this is in the end step, so the Nezahal is going to try to come back here in a second. And I'm going to show you what we do about that. So I'm going to enter full control mode to make sure this goes well. Here is the trigger. We are going to disallow the Nezahal trigger. Now Nezahal never comes back from exile. Done deal. So, you cannot counter Nezahal, but you can disallow the trigger of Nezahal returning. Unfortunately, we made a misstep there and gave our opponent an extra card. Hopefully, it is not the undoing of us, as here comes a Champion of Wits, which is going to give our opponent even more card advantage. This Hieroglyphic Illumination will have to reveal something useful. a Glimmer, which is now the pressure is on the Glimmer to reveal something useful. We can cast down this Champion of Wits. I'm more worried about falling behind in the card race, as we're kind of down to only the Syncopate being a relevant card that's left, and this Arch of Orazca needs time to replace itself. A Field of Ruin's nice in case they find a Search for Azcanta. I think we'll take this opportunity. Do we play the tap land or not? For 4 mana, we can Glimmer. For 2 mana, we can cast down. For a lot of mana, we can Syncopate. Let's see, 6 mana. So we would want to Syncopate for 4 if our opponent Gearhulked and they have an untapped land. And that's not enough for Glimmer. Tough spot. I think I'm going to avoid playing the tap land. We might need it. And whenever there's a situation where I might need it, I tend to hang on to it. Also for right now, let's go ahead and kill this before our opponent untaps and it becomes harder to kill. Our opponent's deck is interesting. So far, we've only seen the countervailing winds. We haven't seen any disallows, but we should guess that they have them since everybody was given disallows. Here is the Search for Azcanta. And let's try this Glimmer. I wouldn't be surprised to see this one get countered, as our opponent might have a handful of counter magic, but they are low-ish on mana. It is a little risky to play a counterspell on this Glimmer. No, they're gonna go for it. Okay. Scared of the Glimmer. So now the pressure is definitely on the Arch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So play you, say go. See if our opponent wants to flip this Search. Maybe they have 2 of them. That would be a good reason to. Well, since I have a Syncopate, I'll let my opponent draw here. Sometimes I activate this in the draw step, especially if they keep the card on top, because if it's a spell, they have to take it with Azcanta. If it's not a spell, they put it on the bottom. But since I have a Syncopate, holding mana up seems wise. All right, now we'll go after this. I'm sure our opponent will get 1 use out of it. We're very behind in the cards race. Our Arch of Orazca needs to get to work. One thing that might be okay is that the cards race matters, but not as much as the relevant cards race. Wow, our opponent whiffs. So a little good fortune. So what I was saying, the relevant card race in these control mirrors is what matters the most. And if our opponent's hand is all Moment of Craving, then essentially it's like they don't have cards in their hand. So we're looking at this. I see Cast Down, I see Moment of Craving. It's quite possible that our opponent's hand isn't cards that matter. And hopefully this Arch and this Glimmer can just start getting us to more cards that do. Main phase Opt usually means the opponent doesn't have a land drop or anything to cast. That's the way I do it anyway. Hard to make assumptions, though. All kinds of players in the arena. All right, drew our bonus card. This might get countered. That's fine. Draw out more counter spells from the opponent. Yep. Very afraid of Glimmers. I like our... I'm actually not that worried about our position. Our opponent's cards can't be too relevant, and they're using counter spells on cards on the card draw things, but we have other sources of card advantage. Here comes a Scarab God. So it's time to fight. There are definitely creatures in the graveyard to get back, so we do need to make our opponent do something here. So let's make our opponent pay 5. The other option was to try to use a Gearhulk there. It's an interesting option. However, exiling the Scarab God sounds very good to me. All right, opponent with the cancel. Sure. So we could also exile their cancel and their Scarab God with our second Syncopate, so I like that. So we'll go 1-2. And just make sure we target carefully. And I have 2 mana up for your Spell Pierce, in case they went that far. And exiling their cancel just means their Gearhulks have less targets. We haven't seen any Gearhulks yet, but we should assume they're in there, although our opponent's running Cancel instead of Disallow, so I'm not sure what to make of their deck tuning. A blink of an eye, our opponent's tapped out. I think this is a great opportunity to Glimmer and Gearhulk and hold up Blink of an Eye to save the Gearhulk should something bad happen. I do expect the Gearhulk to get cast down. I'm not going to try to defend it too much, but I might blink it. Wow. And we found the Gearhulks here, my friends. Finally, after a while of searching. So now let's see what kind of a response our opponent has. A Hostage Taker. Interesting. They don't have the mana right now to cast the Gearhulk. If we let them take it, though... So I guess we'll get the trigger on the stack and then do Blink of an Eye. If the opponent responds, they definitely can't play the Gearhulk this turn. And then we can get the Gearhulk back by killing the Hostage Taker, with our own Gearhulk getting back Vraska's Contempt or Cast Down. But Blink of an Eye resolves. That's a good sign. Blink of an Eye, blinking a Gearhulk. Oh, the value. The sweet, sweet value. Our very own Scarab God. Well, well, well. And our opponent didn't stop the last thing from happening. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So right now we can Scarab God. If our opponent tries to counter it, we can flash back a Disallow with a Torrential Gearhulk. I'm definitely not using this Arch this turn. Let's deploy. Essence Scatter is a bit scary, but let's see what happens. If there's another Essence Scatter, then we had to fight through these sometime. It's the way it is. Gearhulk resolves. Okay, Disallow. Disallow. Target the Essence Scatter. And Scarab resolves. He just can't get any... The Scarab God can't fetch anything right this minute. If we get to untap, of course, it's going to be a whole other story. So our opponent gets 1 turn to deal here. If they have another Hostage Taker, that could be annoying. We can, of course, though, Torrential Gearhulk, a Blink of an Eye, and get our Scarab God back in our hand. Ah, their own Scarab God. We begin the Scarab War. Well, well, well. Is our opponent going immediately to grab something? Glad the Hostage Taker isn't dead. Right now, the option is Dusk Legion Zealot, which is something, which is better than nothing, but I wouldn't call that great. Okay, here we go. And it does tap our opponent out, meaning we do get to kill their Scarab God. So, I believe I want to grab a Dusk Legion Zealot of my own. I just don't know if I want to do it now, and I don't have to. There's no pressure. I can wait. That is a really great draw. Alright, let's go ahead and take care of our opponent's Scarab God. Now, do we attack? I think we do. If our opponent blocks and kills this Gearhulk, we'll have options like Hostage Taker or Torrential Gearhulk to get out of the graveyard. Our opponent's going for it. Yeah, I think we'll send Hostage Taker to the graveyard. Having that as an option is a very good option. So is having a Gearhulk. Let's review the cards in the graveyard here. Blink of an Eye, Glimmer of Genius, Cast Down, Fatal Push, Hyro. So no counterspell, but there is card draw, there is bounce, and there is removal. And over here, there is more removal. Ravenous Chupa guy. Okay. Targets the Gearhulk, sure. We can just bring it back. And draw 2 cards when we do. So that doesn't bother me very much. Put an upkeep stop. Here is a Karn. Do I negate the Karn? We're in a decent position, but... And, like, beating up Karn probably won't be too hard. But I just would rather beat the opponent. That might be too bold, but remember we have Gearhulks in the graveyard to bring the negate back if we're giving something else to negate. All right, here we go. Let's go grab one of our Gearhulks. And let's Glimmer of Genius. There is some risk that our opponent could be sandbagging some 3-mana card, but if it was 4 mana, I'd be worried about Vraska's Contempt. I don't really see what they could do that would wreck us from here, though they're welcome to show me. We all know I've been through that before here on the channel. Like, what could they do? Oh, that. All right. Contempt and push. Excellent. All right, upkeep. Let's do this again. Won't need the Arch anytime soon. We have awesome things to do with our mana. Let's grab our opponent's Hostage Taker, get that exiled from the graveyard. And let's take out their Chupacabra and then cast it. They might Essence Scatter their own Chupacabra, but that's fine. Alright, resolve our Scry trigger. This is the part where the Scarab God just gets devastating. Guess I'll take another Vraska's Contempt. Play their Chupacabra, target the Zealot. Oh, it's all falling apart. It's all falling apart. When the Scarab God decides that the game is going to end, it does so very quickly. I wonder what our opponent's holding that they click through all of that. It seems like if you have anything that you can play for any positive effect, you have to do it there. And our opponent will now scoop them up, as there's probably nothing to get them out of that. So, a not quite mirror match, but a mirror match in terms of colors and deck styles. And we have emerged victorious. We completed our entire quest in one game. In one game, you guys. Oh my lord. Wow, and that was a long one. So today, a bit of a control mirror. Might not be everybody's cup of tea, but it certainly filled out the video and completed the quest. I'm going to leave it there for the day. If you're interested in the deck, we're going to have a deck list in the description. And if you're interested in totally different things, because blue-black control and blue-white control aren't your thing, don't worry. We'll be back with a different deck in the near future. Thank you very much for watching. I'm CGB, and I am getting out of here.